Like it says up there, I'm Paul Gilbert. I'm going to give you a little rundown on myself, and then I'll run down through the current programs that the ASF is administering, and finish up with the new program that just rolled out, the low-grade cleanup assistance challenge. So, a little bit about myself. Grew up in the woods. We had our own sugar woods, and I always cut wood and come on in.
Excuse me.
Don't be short. Worked in the woods running skidder, cable skidder, and chainsaw, and then I ended up going to Ranger School. After Ranger School, I went to work for Stora as a planner. I was a planner there for 5 years. Then I did safety for 2 years. And then had the opportunity, I moved to Truro with Stora, and I looked after contractors, basically harvesting contractors, trucking contractors, and road construction. Did that for 8 years. Then I went into purchase wood, and I bought wood for another 8 years for them. After 2015, I had the opportunity to move over to Northern. I went to work for Northern as an operations supervisor there. Looked after contractors there until the mill closed. And at that time, I was lucky enough to stay in the province, and I went to work for Irving, looking after contractors and eventually buying wood and buying purchase wood at Irving. After Fiona, I had the opportunity to go work for Dave. And most of you folks all know Dave. Dave's been around these places for many years. Dave's away right now, so you're stuck with me today. So I apologize, because Dave's a great speaker. And that brought me here, and they hired me, basically Dave hired me to help out with the Fiona cleanup program, mostly because I believe, it certainly wasn't my silviculture background, but it was, I knew most of the contractors and the truckers, working at Stora, Northern, and then Irving, and buying wood over most of the province, so that was my, basically, background. I'll do my best to answer some silviculture questions, but I may have to rely on other people, but we'll do our best. We're going to run down through basically our programs, a few pictures, and then I'll talk about the new Fiona Cleanup Challenge. So what we administer, private land silviculture program. A lot of you folks have dealt with Ed McLean. It still looks after that. Our training programs, the FEC, PTA, and the biodiversity that Mark Pulsford teaches. He spoke there this morning. Ben's looking after that. Ben's in the room here with us today. He started with us here just a month or so back. Fortunate enough to pick up Ben. Fiona cleanup, I look after that. We have a fairly new program run through COA, federal funding, and that's for site prep and planting of Fiona damaged lands. That's fairly new also. Ben is going to kind of champion that. And we started planting, not necessarily on a COA funding, but they started planting in the province under, I guess, under us this week. I don't know if it was yesterday. This week they started planting, putting trees in the ground. And then we also have the Fiona Cleanup Challenge, low-grade fiber, and I'm going to look after that. The phone numbers and the names are at the end of the presentation, and Free will call all of us because we mostly overlap for everything, other than me and silviculture, and pretty new to me. Our silviculture program, planting, and planting is fairly new since Northern closed our full planting program. Now 33% of our program, about $1.5 million we spend on that. Early competition control, and the demand is on the rise there. It's around 16% of our program. Couple pictures here. This is Dave's presentation. PCT, I guess the demand is growing. We're up to around 37% of our program right now is on pre-commercial thinning. Commercial thinning, as you could probably guess, it's way down, 12%, used to be around 30. Some of that is because the contractors are tied up cleaning up Fiona damage, there's no doubt about that. And probably people are questioning why they did commercial thinning with the damage that the hurricane did. Some people are, but it's down from 30% down to 12%. You folks have any questions, just fire them out. The Fiona cleanup, year and a half into it now. We've got about $1 million left for that. So there's certainly room if you have some damaged lands you want to have us come look at, have a claim. There's certainly some room to get through that. After Fiona, Dave and Ed and I picked up a couple of drones. Not being the very best techie, but we got a couple of drones, and here's our star drone team. Me and Ed. Before Dave took the picture, we had to turn the sandbox over, get the sand out of it. We were playing in the sandbox instead, but we, when we first got them, we hardly flew them. I was scared to lose them. They're kind of an expensive thing, but now Ben has one and I have one, and we fly them probably every day that you can put the drone up. They're up in the air. They're a great tool for seeing ground. Some pictures of the damage over on the North Shore. That's River John. There's still a lot of ground that's yet to be cleaned up. I got a few pictures in here of some of the damage. And a little bit of the cleanup. That was a commercial thinning. Actually, that was a commercial thinning down along, down through Lansdowne. Lots of material. Terrible. I remember back in the WAN days, I was tying ribbons and looking after contractors for Stora, and we were tying ribbons through that, trying to find lines and layout blocks. There wasn't any GPSs, and it was all map and compass and ribbon, and oh, wow.
Here's me, I'll slip in behind you.
Yeah, it was pretty interesting. Pretty interesting work at that time. Another picture of a block cleaned up. Like I said, we still have some funding for the Fiona cleanup, and we do some funding for boundary lines. I'm actually surprised there's a lot of people that aren't claiming their boundary line cleanup, and they're certainly eligible to do it. All you have to do is you still have to meet the qualifications of being 50% blown down or more, and but if you clean her up, re-ribbon it, we'll fund you for it, $500 a kilometer. If it has to be reestablished, it's got to go through a survey.
So is this for people who are already able to access the salvage cleanup funding, or can you get funding just for boundary line cleanup?
You can get funding just for boundary line.
Okay.
Yeah. It was originally rolled out, it had to be adjacent to a cut, but no, it doesn't. If it's more than 50% blown down, and you want to clean up your lines, clean her up.
Okay. Yeah, that'll help.
Couple of takeaways from Fiona. I was going to take the slide out because everybody has different ideas of what they want to do, but and after Fiona, some people don't have a whole lot of options right now. So. very bottom one there is probably the most important. Be safe doing it. It's certainly dangerous stuff to cut. Sometimes, I was talking to a lad that I grew up with, he's been in the woods now, he's 60, same age as I am, he's been in the woods his whole life, and him and his son were chopping and cleaning up sugar bush, and he said sometimes 3 chains aren't enough. They jam one, and they jam another one, and they jam the third one. And yeah, it is tricky stuff to clean up.
Dangerous.
And I'll finish up with this program. This is what Sean introduced this morning. It was rolled out basically in the Western Woodlot owners a couple weeks ago. And then again yesterday at the Contractor Association meeting. This is the new provincial program. The Fiona Cleanup Challenge has been named. And basically, the provincial government recognizes the problem we have right now with low-grade fiber on the ground. Stuff that's not affordable to get cleaned up, get picked up, and they're trying to fund cleanup of that. Forest fires, reduce the habitat for invasive pests, and try to get this ground back in production. Try to get it back so it can grow some trees again. I grew up, there was still, I shouldn't say still, but there was lots of, some hurricane back in the 50s, you'd walk, when I was a kid, you'd walk into pockets that were blown down from whatever that was, was that Edna or something? And then you'd hit pockets of the budworm kill, and that lasted for years, and then it was Juan, and then it was the tussock moth, and then it was Dorian, and now we have Fiona, which was a huge storm, of course, everybody knows. And I don't know, I don't think there's been a stage in my life there hasn't been pockets of ground that's been tied up for some kind of damage. So the Natural Resource Renewables, they entered into a program just a couple weeks back with the ASF to administer this. It's worth $7 million. Implement a Fiona low-grade fiber cleanup program. Available to landowners, contractors, private operators. And the objective is just that, clean up low-grade fiber, which is popple, except with low markets, popple, low-grade hardwood, you know, dead and dying fir, whatever you have that the markets are down for. We really are feeling the effects of northern closing for low-grade markets. So we're going to work with key industry organizations, private operators, and we're looking for proposals of how we can get this done. We do have some facilities in the province that do take low-grade and low-grade fiber. Taylor Lumber has a cogen. There's one in Port Hawkesbury. There's Brooklyn Energy. GNTI takes wood for pellets out of Upper Musquodoboit. Most everybody knows all that stuff. There's fiber goes out of Sheet Harbor. There's also, you know, Nova Tree that makes mulch. So there's different facilities now. Dal AC takes fiber for heating. So there's different ideas. We've talked to most all those folks right now and trying to hopefully generate some more ideas, proposals to get some more of this low-grade fiber off the ground. Anybody here have driven through River John and the Route 6 and the River John back road and over around Antigonish or down as far as Aspen, or there's a pile of ground that hasn't been touched. So we have a real issue with fire and invasive pests and trying to get this darn thing up. So we're, if we can get some proposals in, we'll review the proposals with the Natural Resources Renewables. We'll probably have some ad hoc committees geared up with different people we need, contractor association or this group or any group we have to talk to about what might be feasible to get some of that low-grade fiber cleaned up. and try to see if we can get some, to work.
Years ago, you know, Paul, they were supposed to, all the government buildings and new buildings, they were all supposed to go, you know, to the boilers, and they were gonna buy all this wood from us, and I don't know whatever happened to that, you know. Well, you know, you got Trudeau saying, you know, I don't know, maybe wood isn't, you know, environmentally friendly, but
Works in my house.
it does mine too.
Yep.
But you know what I mean? They were all going, all the government buildings in Nova Scotia were supposed to go to boilers, you know, and they were gonna buy wood from, you know, co-ops and local landowners within a certain distance of them.
Yeah.
So I don't know whatever happened to that.
I don't know either, but there's certainly opportunities that we have in this province that you kind of wonder why, or maybe we just haven't taken the initiative, but, you know, we have a federal prison in Spring Hill that's heated with oil, hot water and oil, that we could, you know, there's many options that could run as simple as the one Dell AC runs. You know, there's opportunities there. We've talked to, like I said before, the different, kind of the major, bigger players in the province for biomass and cogens, and there's certainly some great ideas out there. And yesterday's contractor association meeting, there was also, right off the bat, there was 3 guys that I talked to that had some real good proposals that we're gonna put forward to try to get some of this low grade cleaned up. So there is people out there that are certainly thinking that, and looking towards getting some kind of market or some kind of way to get that fiber off the ground. Hopefully, maybe we can assist it for the next couple of years. This program's good for 2 years. Hopefully, it may be turned into long term. With the lack of a pulp mill in the province right now, we can certainly use those markets.
You mentioned that you guys had chatted with like PHP and GNTI and all those places. Did you get a sense to their appetite? Like, do they have an appetite for more material, or are they pretty much at capacity?
Well, it's all over the board right now. I think, like for instance, today, PHP's got 70,000 tons in the yard right now. But they want to dry stuff, they want to put it up and get the moisture content down a little bit. GNTI, certainly looking at full appetite boats coming in. He mentioned that yesterday, the meeting yesterday. They had some more consistent boats coming in for fiber. So it's Brooklyn Energy, for instance, they can use bark. They don't want chips, they want bark. Well, talking to one lad, they might be able to juggle some fiber from one direction and put it the other direction, and maybe clean up 40,000 tons of low-grade wood off the ground and put it somewhere else, if we can divert some bark. Lots of different ideas out there that are being tossed around right now, so hopefully we can get some. We also have the very issue that came up this morning, our contractor capacity. And we had one lad, he asked about trying to get more contractors in the Pictou, Antigonish kind of area. And there's some very easy remedies for that may not be feasible. The working with contractors for 35 years, years ago, if you told a lad in a machine they were going to move away for 2 months and work away from home, well, they went. Well, nowadays, with the reduced workforce and reduced capacity in the province, a lot of the guys in the seats are my age or older. Not all of them, but a lot of them. And they live in rural Nova Scotia. They heat with wood in their own houses, and they may have some livestock, or they may have, but those guys are used to being home. They've worked at home their whole lives. So if the contractor tells them they're gonna move away for 2 months and travel, they'll go to work for the next guy. It's an easily understood wrong answer, but yeah, there's some crews that go. The other issue is, and I'll chuck a name out, I don't know if I'm allowed to or not, but it's pretty public knowledge, but you take somebody the size of Derek Carter logging. When the mill was running, when Northern was running, he had 3 bunchers, 5 harvesters, 3 porters, 2 parks trucks, a full slate of contract, or like guys in the seats, he was running wide open, he was still looking for men every day. And since the mill closed, he's reduced in size. At one point, he could split his gear up and send one crew away and, juggle some men in the seats and some that are willing to go and keep the crew home. Well, he can't do that now. The manpower's not there. He doesn't have those guys in the seats who just decide to do that. So there is an issue for juggling contractors. And sort of, I don't know how we got into that spiel, but so.
And with DNRR, gone through other avenues to push people like, municipalities and government and stuff like that to open up other avenues of using this wood fiber?
Meetings, but I do know the lads that are looking after this program, and they've been out on the ground. Yep. I'm gonna put our phone numbers up there. Don't call Dave for another week or so, he won't get them. He's on vacation right now, he's away. Ed's always around. Ed's our main guy for silviculture. Dave's been at the ASF for well over 20 years, I believe. Ed's been there to 12 to 15. And Ben and I are the new guys. Ben's brand new, and I've been there a year and a half, so that's us. Those numbers will be updated hopefully on the website next week.